Struggling with squats? I was struggling too, until I changed this. The squat is without a doubt one of the most technical movements to perform in the gym, and it's maybe one of the reasons as to why you're struggling on it. And like I said, I was struggling too, but now I'm able to squat 265 kilos or 585 pounds, which is close to 4 times my body weight. But that wasn't the case some years ago. Here you can see me struggle with 160 kilos or 350 pounds with a not so great technique. But in order to massively improve my squat, I had to dial in 3 key elements that massively improved my technique and my strength. And if you look at what the best powerlifters on the planet are doing when they're squatting, almost all of them use the specific technique and methods I'm going to share with you today. So let's see together the 3 proven methods you can start using today in order to finally blow up your squat. Strong unrack equals stronger squat. The first point is going to be about getting the bar out of the rack. It may seem like meaningless to some beginners, but in reality it's far from being the case. Before squatting the weight down, you have to get the bar on your back and then only you're good to go. But this first step is actually where a lot of people are making a huge mistake. The squat is a very challenging lift mentally, and I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of you guys. You're in the gym, you want to hit a squat PR, but just when you unrack the bar, you feel like the weight is about to crush you down. And suddenly, all of your confidence is at an all-time low. You're thinking to yourself, I'm struggling just with the bar on my back, so how am I even supposed to go down and back up with it? And all of that is caused by a poor unrack positioning. If we take a look at the best powerlifters on the planet when they're about to squat, you always see them take a big brace before even unracking the bar. To brace means to engage your abdominal muscles and to get your pelvis stacked with your rib cage. This will create a much stronger position, and also this will allow you to more effectively use your leverages. By bracing before even unracking the bar, you're making the bar feel 10 times lighter on your back. Not only you don't have a power leak with a poor unrack, but more importantly, in terms of mental strength, it's a crazy boost. Just like we said that it's really hard to squat a weight that feels very heavy on your back and that feels like it's about to crush you, it's much easier to squat a weight that feels very light and very smooth on your back. Now that you understand why the unrack positioning is so important, let's see the 2 moments you have to use this technique. Obviously, the first moment is just like I said, just before you're about to unrack the bar, you want to take that big brace and then be able to make your 2 or 3 steps back in order to set your feet stance. Then, just before you're about to actually squat the weight down, you want to retake a brace that's going to improve your strength transfer from the lower to the upper body where the bar is located, and also, like I said, it will enhance your ability to properly use your leverages in order to squat big weights. Second method, bar over midfoot. The second method to get a bigger squat is to keep the bar over midfoot throughout the lift. Losing balance is one of the biggest mistakes you can make on squats. Not only is it very taxing to recover from a balance issue, but also in terms of your ability to use and recruit your muscles, it will make everything less efficient. If we take another look back at what the best powerlifters are doing on the planet when they're squatting, you always see them have the bar over the center of mass, and more importantly, they're keeping this position throughout the lift. In my experience as an athlete and as a coach, this aspect is one of the most important for a big and technical squat, but at the same time, it's one of the hardest to understand. Keeping the bar over midfoot, which is an imaginary line that splits your body into 2 parts, is not an easy task to do, especially when you have hundreds of pounds on your back. So the best way to achieve this position is to learn how to perform a squat keeping the weight over midfoot by using a technical cue. For this cue, you want to use a set of small plates. Place these weights just under the middle of your foot, and then you want to perform a set of 10 repetitions, experiencing how it feels to follow this imaginary line, so to keep the bar over midfoot throughout your whole squat. If this area is an area where you struggle a lot, you feel like you're falling forward on squats or falling backwards, so balance is a big issue for you, then I would recommend you perform 2 2 to 3 sets of 10 repetitions every time you warm up for squats. Try to slowly add some weights because you don't want to be doing that with just an empty bar. I personally do it by increasing the weights just as I would with a proper warm-up. So I'll do that with 1 plate, 2 plates, 2 plates and a half, and so on and so forth. Like I said, sometimes it's really hard to understand those cues, but it's much easier to actually experience them and feel them. So the best way to learn how to keep the bar over midfoot is to actually practice this. And like I said, practicing the squat with some small weights exactly underneath where the midfoot is for you is the best way to go. And I'm sure suddenly the squat will feel magically easier for you. Third proven method, push up, not forward. The third method is all about the direction in which you're pushing the weights. When we see squat fails online, oftentimes it's athletes getting pinned forward by the bar. And as you can see, if you rewind that moments later, just before they're about to fail, 100% of the time you see them push forward instead of push up. The reason as to why it's a mistake is because when you're squatting, you're fighting against gravity. And the best way to fight gravity is through a straight line that's going from the bottom to up. So imagine you have the strength to squat 200 kilos. If you only push 80% of that strength upwards, you have a loss of 20%. You may think, oh, it's not a big deal. I have most of my strength going up, so I'm fine. But in reality, if you're looking at the math here, instead of squatting 200 kilos like your body is able to, you're only driving 160 kilos upwards, and that's your current squat max. So we're talking a 40 kilos difference or 88 pounds, which is massive on a squat. Now, if we go back to watching what the best powerlifters on the planet are doing, you always see them use all of their strength upwards and not forward. In order to properly illustrate this aspect, I want us to take the example of one of the best squatters on the planet, which is Priscilla Bavoil. When you look at her technique, you always see her drive up constantly throughout the whole squat. And that's a reason as to why she's able to squat so heavy, and she is able to squat 500 pounds, just for the record. The reason for that is pretty straightforward. She's using all of the strength that she has in her lower body perfectly transferred into her upper body, which is exactly where the bar is located. Leah is one of my training partners, and yesterday I was able to record her from the side, and I just wanted to show you this side angle. As you can see, whether it's on her way down or on her way up, she's always driving upwards at any moment in the lift. As you can see here, the way she accomplishes that is by keeping her upper body underneath the bar. And that's made possible through what we call the elbow drive. Instead of getting pinned forward by the bar, instead of pushing forward, on the contrary, she's fighting the bar and she's able to keep a constant drive upwards throughout the use of a strong elbow drive. What it means is pretty simple. She's always pushing up, which means she doesn't have any leak of strength and power in her lifts. Be careful, sometimes some coaches or athletes will try to have this position by cueing a chest open position, chest up. In reality, in my opinion, it's not a very good advice because you want to keep your ribcage stacked over your pelvis, and usually when you're trying to cue your chest upwards, you're overextending the upper back, which is going to create what we call an anterior pelvic tilt, which then will create a weaker position, especially on your lower back. Again, if we take a look back at what Leah is doing, she's simply driving the weights up using her elbow drive and pushing while keeping the bar over her midfoot. And there you have it, guys. By associating those three elements, so strong unrack, keeping the bar over midfoot, keeping a constant drive up and not forward, I was able to massively improve my squat strength and technique, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can do the exact same thing. And that was it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a couple of things. If that's the case, as always, one of the best ways to let me know, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. All those little things help me out a lot, and I really thank all of you guys who take the time to do it. Make sure to use those three methods in order to improve your squat, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. The bulk is going great.
Boom.